Well, it's Wednesday. Here we are. Once again, we are here talking about Alexa and what we're building. I've got a gaming T-shirt on. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's a certain code. Good morning, Kevin Evans. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Happy Thursday from Australia, locked in. It's good to see you here as well. Where we left off yesterday, we were building an APL interface for people to be able to see all of the available APL templates that are available on the design tool. And we got it working just at the end of the session yesterday afternoon. And I spent a little bit of time this morning. I had some work to do, obviously, plenty of work to do. But I had a bunch of things that I needed to get done, and finished that kind of early this morning, actually. I got up pretty early. Funny story about that, actually. We had our master bathroom at our house renovated between like Thanksgiving and the beginning of February, let's say. And it went fantastically. We have this amazing new bathroom at our house. And this morning I got up, jumped in the shower, and completely forgot that I had talked to the people that had remodeled my house. They had left a big sign in our front yard that was like an advertisement, basically, like a big wooden sign with a hanging thing off of it that was basically a name of their company and how to get a hold of them. And they put it in our yard while they were doing the work, but then with the pandemic and everything else, they never came back to get it. And I, eventually took it out of my yard and I put it in my garage, and it's a nice sign. Like, it's a nice big wooden post. It has a nice finish on it and everything. So I didn't want to just throw it away or anything. So instead, I just threw it in my garage, and I was thinking about them the other day as I was trying to get through my garage, and I saw that sitting there, and I was like, I really need to tell them to come pick it up. So I texted the guys that had worked in our house yesterday, and I said, hey, can you guys come by and pick up the signs up sometime? And they said, oh yeah, we'll come tomorrow morning, like 7:30, 8 o'clock before we head out to our work site. And I said, perfect, I'll be up, no problem. So I get up this morning, don't even think about it, 7:20, 7:25, jump in the shower. Doorbell rings, it's 7:35 or something. And everybody in my house is asleep because it's summer break for everybody but me in this house. And the dog starts barking. Everybody comes out of the room like, what's going on? And I had to like jump out of the shower real fast and get dressed and run down to get this sign for these guys that I had created this entire situation for myself. So that all happened this morning. Came downstairs, got a bunch of stuff done, got a bunch of writing done. And realized that I had some time to work on what we had been working on yesterday. So, that being said, I have finished the APL stuff because I was just feeling it. So I want to show you guys kind of how this shook out. If we look at our code here, you can see that I have this APL templates folder, and now I have 7 different. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah, 7 different APL templates. These are just the default code that you would get in the interface, but I've downloaded all of them into my skill. And I've given them names, and if we go to my, I don't think I have it open right now, but if we come into my interaction model, excuse me, it's an early morning, I guess. You can see that my slot values now, I have image display sample, long test sample, short text sample, image right, image left, image forward, and text forward. Those are all the different samples that are available in the APL design tool. So all of those are working there now, and I've given them some tests, and I've gotten them working. And the next thing that I wanted to start working on is permissions. Not the granting of permissions, because that's kind of done in a manual way with our users when they enable our skill. But man, I thought there's some cool stuff that I could be doing in here, like notifications and a few other things. And so I thought it might be interesting to try to do some of this stuff, just so that people can see how this works, and how you might do it. So one of the things that I have to figure out is, how do I go about letting a developer request this information? So they might say, if we look at some of this stuff, what is my location? And I could get their geolocation data if I have that. What, add this to my shopping list, right? That should be a pretty easy thing to do. And maybe that's the one that we'll work on today. But I can also look at like, what is your email address? What is a first or last name? And again, the reason that I want to build this stuff, one is then I have some sample code by which I've done this before. But the other reason is so that when you're thinking about building a skill, and you're like, I wonder how that works, or I wonder how that sounds, or I wonder how I should respond to a user with this information, you have a live skill that's available in public that you can just ask and say, open dev tips, and it'll say, what do you want to do? And be like, what is my first name? Or what is my phone number? And there's little things that you always want to test, right? Like one of the examples I can think of for the phone number as an example is, what if I change it right now? Like, is there any caching? There's probably not any documentation about that, but could I test it really quick? Yeah. So I talk to the skill, it tells me what my phone number is, I go into my account, I change my phone number, and boom, I can see that it's pulling a live feed and update, right? I didn't have to build a whole skill and get all the code right and do all the stuff just to test that. So that's really my intention behind this, is just to give developers a place to go, like, see how this thing works. And see where it's pulling from, and see how that stuff all works. So I've built some of this before. The things like the user's phone number, and given name and stuff like that. We've built that for when we were doing the scavenger hunt, and I may still have that code available. So I guess we could do that. I've never written to a user's list before. That would be kind of cool. And it looks like you can both read and write those lists. That's pretty awesome. So we really need to think about how this stuff works. Oh, I just got a request. Let me flip over to this. See if I can change this. A colleague of mine just asked me if they can chime with me. I'm actually on stream right now. Okay, so I can't do that right now. And we'll come back to this. Okay, so do you guys have any opinions? Good morning, LJ. Good morning, Gold Zulu. I think this is kind of oh yeah, it's a morning afternoon for some of you. Jeff Dunn says it wasn't him, he promises. It definitely wasn't. It was the infamous Paul Cutzinger. He was trying to do a chime test really quick to make sure his chime was working properly, but I am not currently available to do a chime call. All right, so what do you guys think? Should I do the profile reads? Should I do the first name, last name, phone number stuff? Because we really have to think about. There's two things to go into this. One is the actual functionality, but the other piece of it is how do I get the user to ask for this stuff? Because this is kind of a unique case in that regard. So I think because I already know how to do the profile email and give a name and stuff, I think maybe what I should do is build this in a way where I start with that, and then that will maybe inform how I'm going to do some of this other stuff. So let's first think about what a user is going to say. So if we come into our model, we're going to have. I don't think it's going to be a straight up permissions intent. Like I thought about, like, I'll just group all these into like one intent, and you can just ask me about one of them. I think I need to get some water or something. Wake me up. No coffee. I know Gold Zulu wants me to drink coffee, but no coffee here. Yeah, I'm going to grab a bottle of water, and I will be right back, and I'm going to think about how I want to build this intent. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. Okay, nice work, Jeff Nunn. Thank you for the blue lamp. Anticipating what a person will say. It is hard, and you can only get better at it, Kevin, by really talking with other people and asking them how they would say it. Do some interviews, talk with your actual customers, and get a feel for, what it is that that you think they would say. Say, hey, I want you to get this information. How would you do it? How would you say it? I did not run yet this morning, LJ. I was meaning to go out, but I got kind of interrupted by the contractors that came by to get that sign, and then I sat down at my desk, and then it was game over. So I think that I will probably go out later this afternoon. I know, Kevin, it sounds awful, but you're going to have to talk to people. Okay, so let's think quickly. Why didn't lamp work there? Did you guys break something? There is some things that break in there. No, it looks like the bot's running. Oh, it's because he said infrared. I was like, man, why isn't that working? And you can't say at lamp. You got to say exclamation point lamp. Otherwise, it just ignores you. There we go. I was worried that it wasn't working. Blue has been updated. And I think it's cool that it only replies when it works, too. Or I guess when it specifically does not work. But anything else doesn't really come through. So anyway, okay, I'm getting distracted. So I think we'll do the permissions here, the given name and the mobile number. We have access to these things. So let's get into that model and think about what our intent would be. So I think it's going to be, could I just say, like, what is my, no. And these could all be different intents. I think that would be fine too. What is my geolocation? I think we'll have a what is my, so we'll have like a personal data intent, and that could be what is my name, what is my email, tell me my email, that kind of stuff. And then we might have a separate intent entirely for lists, and then I definitely will have something separate for like notifications, where I'm actually like setting a notification for a user so they can see how that works. But for all this personal data, I think I'm just going to have a personal info intent. So let's do that. So we'll start with this as a structure. And we'll say personal info intent. Okay. And then this is going to be info type. And this will be info type. W. Giorgio, good morning. Welcome. And then we need some samples. So that's going to look something like this. Do you not like that that's empty? Duplicate object key. What are you talking about? Oh, I broke it. I broke it. How about that? Do you feel less broken now? Okay. So we could do a basic one, which is like, what is my personal info? And we're going to have to come up with a lot of ways that people might say this. But then we'll also have instances where it'll be like, what is my, and then this is where the info type will come in. Tell me my, and then one of the other things, this is a good thing to think about as we go through this, is we talked a little bit about one-shots yesterday or the day before. If you guys don't know one-shots, it's when you call a skill but you ask for the thing you want at the same time. So instead of saying open dev tips, you would say like, ask dev tips for this thing, or ask dev tips about in-skill purchasing, or ask dev tips for my info type. Like so. So these are, by having those extra utterances that think about that one shot, it makes it much easier to happen. So you can say things like for my info type, and then thank you, Prettier, for fixing that. So what is my personal info for my, well, let's do another one that is like, I don't know what that did. For my personal info, like so. Okay. So Jeff, does your skill log all the mishits and or all the questions where there are no answers? Not yet. But in fact, that is something else that we could do here pretty quickly, actually. So let me. Is this not saved? Did I change something here? We'll save it. And this is saved for my personal info. So we at least have that personal info intent. I also need to create the slot. So let's do the slot here really quick. So we'll just take this. This is all we really need. And we'll add a new one. Yeah, no, that is actually something that I do regularly. Values has an array, which should go here. And then this should back up like so. So let's do this on its own line. There we go, okay. So, yeah, so I do log that stuff generally, and that's something that I didn't do. So let's get that file open because that'll remind me to do it. So in answer intent, I have this case. The thing that he's referring to is this else case. If they said something I didn't recognize, is that right? If it didn't resolve, then I should save that to a new table that is like missed values or something like that. So how do we want to do that? Where I'm going to, I guess in here, what do we do? Yeah, I still need that to do, and I'm going to do another one, which is if they said something that didn't match, we should log it so that we can add it. Okay, so I've got that in there. I think Gold Zulu, that is something that I've done for a number of my other skills, where I basically say, hey, they said a thing, we should record that so that we can figure out why we're missing. Sometimes it's just updating some synonyms. That's exactly right, Gold Zulu. That's kind of exactly the response that I would get is, I'm constantly getting smarter, I'll do some research, and I'll make sure I can answer that next time. Something along those lines. So we'll do that here in a little bit as well. So we have our intent, and I have started building my slot. I thought I did. This is my APL template slot. I don't want this. I want this to be info type. And the first one is just going to be. I don't know how I'll best want to do this. I'll probably just end up with a case statement for all of these because I don't think we'll do this for now. So if I say email address, it'll look like this, and this will be also email. And then we can take additional values. We could say name. Let's use the values that we see in here. So I have not only do I have email, which is the first one, but we have given name, mobile number, and name. So we use those four. So we have given name, and this is just so I can get their first name. Given name, given name. This is also first name. I guess I don't need that first one as a synonym since it's the same. But it's something like first name because that's what your given name is. And then we'll have another one that is like this. And this one's going to be full name. Is that what we call it though? We just call it name. That's going to create some weird disambiguation situations for me if I do that. So this will be full name. And we'll just add some extra synonyms in there like that. And then the last one was mobile number. So we'll do that one. And then we have the infrastructure built to get started on this. So this is going to be mobile number. This will be mobile number. And so we'll have a bunch of synonyms for this because there's a lot of different ways to say this. So I'll say mobile, I'll say phone number, digits, why not? Mobile, phone number, telephone number. Okay, so there's some good synonyms for that one. And I just want to revisit just briefly what this this intent looks like that I created. What is my personal info? This one I might just aggregate and grab all of them if they don't provide me a specific thing that they want. And then what is my mobile? What is my name? What is my first name? Tell me my phone number. That seems to fit pretty well into that pattern. So I think that's okay. Okay, so we have that. Let's do this pretty quickly because this is pretty easy. And then we'll come back and finish up building the permissions engine to do all that stuff. So in here, we want to say if... Okay, so I guess the first thing I need to do is if spoken words exists, then we're going to do a thing. And this is where we're probably going to I'll probably have to create a function for this, I think, that is a way to call out and do the thing that I want to do. So let's think briefly about what this looks like. I think the first thing we need to do is go into our Airtable folder, and we'll create a new function here that would be I have get and I have update. Do I want it to be put or save? I think it's going to be save. So we'll do save missed value. Sure, let's do that. And then these are in the wrong order also. Get user record, get item by record ID, get random speech con, get unused answer. And then we're going to have a new one right here. This is going to be save missed value. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and make this easy for myself. So we'll say save missed value. Whoop. And then I'm going to need to, let's just save this as an example. Save as, because I'm going to use their API for this. And this is going to be save missed value. Okay. Save missed value. And down here at the bottom, save missed value. Okay, so what's good about this, what this structure gives me, is now if I come back to my answer intent, I should be able to say await Airtable dot save. Do I see save anywhere? Save missed value. Look at that. And we're just going to pass in. Yeah, I've already determined what the words are, so it seems silly to pass handler input and figure that all out again. So I think I'm just going to say spoken words. But I also need to say, where do I want to save that? What is the table that I want it to save to? What is the location? And so we need to figure that out too. Why is my browser so small? Let's make that bigger. Let's go to Airtable. There's a whole conversation happening over here that I'm missing. Have you read the book Hooked? I think I mentioned it before. Sometimes the best customers get converted just through the method used to resolve a situation where you cannot fulfill the customer's request. Yes, I read so many books sometimes I can't remember. I wonder sometimes when magically know the stuff in a book that I stash in my Kindle bookshelf. Okay, so part of me wants to put this somewhere else. Like have a third thing that's like missed values, and we could have tables that reflect like one version to, I'm just going to do it in here. I already have all these tables, and I'm going to have so many more, but this is fine. How do I best want to do this? Because now I'm going to have like a missed answer table and a missed speech con table. No, I don't care about speech cons. I can't fix that. Missed sound effects. Can't fix that. All right, so we'll just call this missed answer. And this is going to be a record ID. And we'll just make it the formula for a record ID. Looks like that. Boom, I have some records. The thing that I'm going to want is a created. Is that really what I want to call it, as created date? I did this someplace else, so let's see. If I say include a time field, friendly, use same time zone for everybody, save. If I come in here, I think I have a created date for this too. That's last modified. I don't have a created date there, huh? What news? Do I have one in the news table? Expiration date. That's okay. As long as I'm being consistent, expiration date, created date, that's fine. Okay, so I have my missed answer table, and I have a created date field, but this is not a date field. This is a created time field. That's really what I want. Because then it's auto logged, and I don't have to submit or enter the data. And then this is just going to be the value. Like that. We can just make this single line text. These will not be big values, but we'll spread it out. Yeah, okay. So again, this is only for entrances into our skill where people don't match any of our slot values. So again, we have this long list of things like this, right? All of these different things. And if we don't perfectly match one of them, then it's not, well, not perfectly. If we don't match one of these based on synonyms or anything else, then we don't know what they were asking for. And we'll just give them something random, but we should log it. So there's a couple things that I should do in this code. I said, what do we do if they have heard all the things? That's us getting the random thing. But I also need to say, this needs to be like speak output plus equals, because in here I'm going to have to do some work to say like, oh, I couldn't find that thing, but I saved it, so that I'm being smart about this. So this is going to be missed answer, like so. And then we're also going to do a speak output equals. And this one is going to say, I don't seem to know what that is. My apologies. I picked a random topic for you. Now, I would probably, in normal speech, I would say, instead, I picked a random topic for you. And then that allows me to flow right into the other speak output. So then we'll do this. Are you guys seeing what I'm doing with the speech there? So like, I'm tacking this onto the beginning if they missed the answer, so that I can acknowledge that I didn't give them the thing. Because otherwise what would happen is you'd say, tell me about Baby Yoda. And it would say, I don't know what Baby Yoda is. I don't have any listings in my database for that. And so it would say, oh, I picked a random topic for you, and then give you something totally random that doesn't match. So this way, I'm logging the thing. That's what my if statement does. And then I'm tacking into my speech. I don't seem to know what, let's see, I don't have a record. Let's use their speech against them. I don't have a record for, and this will be the words they spoke. Spoken words like so. So now I'm going to say, I don't have a record for Baby Yoda. My apologies. Instead, I picked a random topic for you, right? Like, that's a really nice way to flow all this stuff together and give the user the feeling that, my apologies, I'm not really saying that I'll look into it. I don't have a record for Baby Yoda. My apologies. I'll do some research. Now, I will probably have multiple versions of this statement that are all kind of off the wall and different, but my apologies, I'll do some research. Instead, I've picked a random topic for you. Now, you're saying maybe a choice. I don't know what choice I can really give my user here, because I don't know anything. All I know is that they said a thing that doesn't match anything that I have, and So that's something that I do quite frequently. If you look at my speech table, Gold Zulu, I'll probably have 20 or 30 tables when we're all said and done here, but I will have one that is a specific table with a bunch of responses that are all things that are around missing an answer or missing a value. Because this doesn't really say anything about answer per se. It just says I don't have a record for that. So I could do that for speech cons. I could do that for all these, but I can use that same kind of collection of responses out of this table, and then it just randomly grabs one. So when we say welcome, every time you come into the skill, it just randomly grabs one of these four and says it to you. Now, I could, if I wanted to get really elaborate about this, I could set some percentages or something on this so that it's making sure that I'm randomly doing this in a way that gives me A/B testing and all that stuff. But just being able to randomly select one of these every single time is a big win. And to add another one is as simple as just clicking here and typing some text, and then it's in circulation. There's nothing additional that I need to do. In the collection of options, can you include variables? In the collection of options, I don't know what you mean by options. In the collection of options, can you include variables in the responses? Yeah, I mean that's what I'm doing right here with spoken words, right? I don't have a record for whatever the user said. Oh, I see. In the collection of options, yes, I do that. I don't have any in this one, but I can show you in the Star Wars one. I think I did that. Let's see. Where is Star Wars speech? So, correct answer? No. Wrong answer? Art Splunge, thank you for the follow. Let's see if I have... Yeah, so I just do things like this. This is a good example. I'm sorry I couldn't find a type from media, and then what I do in my function where I actually bring this stuff out is I'll replace the word type with the type that is in my data, and I'll replace the word media with whatever the media variable was, right? So there's no automated process to this, but I can build statements that have those variables, and then as I'm going through the process, I will have some hard-coded replace statements basically in my function to be able to say, oh, well, type should be the thing that they said, and media should be the thing that they said, and so I can still build a lot of these things like Locked In is asking, but I don't have to do anything fancy, right? I just replace the word type or the word media, and because it's capitalized, it becomes unique, but then I can read this and still see like, oh, I see what's going on. So it's really easy for me to write a third one because I understand the context. The way I used to do this is like 10 X's in a row or 10 Y's in a row, and there was no reason for me to do it that way. This makes a lot more sense, and it's readable, but I'm confident that there's not going to be a situation where I really wanted to use the word type in all caps. That's not going to happen. So by making them all caps, that makes it really easy for me to do this. I could add a $sign or something else to really make it unique, but I haven't run into that need yet. Awesome. So yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying, and this is the way that I generally approach that. I don't have any of those yet, but we will definitely have things like that as we're going through this skill. So the thing we haven't done is actually build this save missed value. So I want to make sure that this is all working properly. Save missed value takes a handler input and a record ID, Have you made your Star Wars skill available in the UK yet? Gold Zulu, no, I have not. Honestly, since we published it, I kept moving forward on other stuff, and I haven't revisited it yet. It is live in the US, and I guess I could probably pretty easily do it for the UK. The trick really is making sure that I go through all of my data and I have locales for UK here, and then obviously publishing it. So let's make a let's say we're maybe going to do that on let's do that Friday. Maybe we'll start off with that just to show what it's like to add another language to a skill, because it's really the same interaction model. I still have a ton of data that's missing and not filled in, but I think I should be able to get away with publishing it to another locale. I think that would be pretty easy to do. So if I don't just do it on Friday because I remember, then make sure you remind me. I'd be happy to do that on Friday morning. I think that would be a good idea. Okay. So back here, we have save missed value where we're passing in the spoken words and the table that we want to put it into. And then we have our speech. So all we need to do now is come into here and do the right thing. And so one of the other nice things about Airtable, airtable.com. No, I want the API. Okay, so what I can do here, if I go to their API, if you guys haven't played with this, this is one of the better examples of APIs out there. I'm logged in with my account, so I can actually see my answer table, my SpeechCon table. The table that we just created is called missed answer. And I can go to JavaScript right here, and I can see, if I look at my table and we scroll down a little bit, I want to create a record. And I just want, this is, I'm just moving fast, but you can see that it has some sample code for me over here, but I can also include a single record object at the top level. So if I click this, it's just a simplified version of this. And so this is the code that I really need to run to be able to make all this work. And so we're going to just take these. I already have the require Airtable at the top of my file. That's up here. So what we need to do is say, well, we're going to tear all this down because we don't really need any of that. So let's get rid of, I don't need session attributes. Don't care about any of this. This is like a run and gun, one shot, just send it off and be done with it. And I think that I can just take it like this and say missed answer. I want to create. Why didn't you give me like the properties in there? Should there be properties? Did I mess that up? Let's go look. I come back to dev tips here and I look at the missed answer table. I have records in there. I have record ID, value, created date. So what if I have another column that's like name? And what if I come over here and refresh this? Normally it has like the little properties inside the create object. I was thinking that would just be there. It's weird that it isn't, like normally they have that stuff just right in there. If I do update records, I think that, maybe that has it. Please, oh, I just have to add some non-empty data. That's my issue. So we'll say Baby Yoda is the example. We can get rid of this name column. That was the thing I was missing, was some data. They didn't know what to do. Okay, so now let's try this one more time. Come back in here, refresh the page. And I say create a record. And I say show an example. And now I end up with value inside that create. I just wanted to make sure that I had the syntax and everything right. They give it to you, so I just want to make sure that I wasn't screwing anything up. So the value here, this is going to be not handler input. What I'm going to do instead is spoken words. And this is table. So my API key goes here. This is going to be process.env what is it? What was the other one? Update user answer? That has reference to it right here. Airtable API key. Perfect. I have to work so hard to keep my data safe from all the prying eyes. Airtable key. The database. Oh man. Oh no, this is the base, not the table. So this is going to be the base, which is base data right here. That can be hard coded. That's fine. So we'll take this like so, and then we have the name of the table right here. So this is table. And then value is going to be spoken words. So spoken words. And I think otherwise we're good. We don't even really need to async this thing because this is a fire and forget. Like at the end of the world, if it doesn't get saved, I don't even care. But if it does, that's obviously wonderful. So let's go back to answer intent. We're not going to await it. We don't care. Just do it. I don't need this as live data right now. Save missed value. And then we call save missed value. Come on. And we're going to make a call out to Airtable. We're going to create a new record with a value that is our spoken words. Locked in. That sounds awesome. 1 hour of recorded voice. What does that cost? That can't be cheap. But it sounds super cool. I remember back in the day when it was super cool to be able to get a custom font of your handwriting. Man, a custom voice engine. What did I screw up? Oh, I was playing with something. So I have to take out this one. All right. Boy, I don't know that sounds like a good idea. I don't think that any of us need to make a custom voice of my voice. That seems like a violation of trust and a number of other things that could go wrong for me there. Now what's wrong? Personal info intent. What is my info type? What is wrong with that? Parsing error in sample. Okay, let's go look. There's no clear indication that I've screwed anything up. What is my info type? Man, that all looks pretty clean to me. Parsing error in sample. What is... Oh, there's a comma right there. Thank you for finding that. Right, and one more. There is an extra comma locked in. Thank you. I found it. And this is going to take like 7 hours because we can't figure out how to do local deployment, which is the best. Kevin Evans thinks I need to drink some more water. Okay. Have you guys noticed our viewer count has gone up a little bit? Normally, oh boy. This already makes me nervous, Gold Zulu. You're making me nervous, man. What is this? What are we going to see here? Let me turn off the audio for that. You don't need that. I forgot you guys made that. That's so great. All right, so it looks like we're building. It's going to take 17 hours to do so. And I think this is because of all the developer dependencies that I have. If you guys haven't noticed, since I've been working on this, I had in my package JSON, not only do I have some dependencies here, which are not too big, but I have all of these developer dependencies. And I think these are also, unfortunately, all getting packaged up and carried with my skill up to the... I think that's part of how the ask deploy works. And I wish it was skipping dev dependencies, but I don't think it is. I think it's just taking the node modules folder and just grabbing everything. it's not actually leaning on this. So maybe that's something I need to talk to the product team about, because man, my deploys take forever now, right? It's 771 packages. Yeah, I don't want to get too deep into that right now, but yeah. Curious what everyone's first Alexa project was, is, will be. Good question, Kevin Evans. Well, if I go to the Lambda console, it's just going to say it's too big. It won't show me my code there. All right, we have pushed some code. Let's see what happens. We wanted to, if we come back to my build, we were testing saying something wrong. Unofficial Marvel fact skill. Nice. Big fan of the Marvel universe. There are a solid 50, no fewer than 50 Marvel Funko Pops up there on the wall in front of me, just past the camera. One of these days, maybe I'll have to change the shelves and I'll put the Marvel ones here behind me. This is like the Island of Misfit Toys, this shelf behind me. You never know who's going to show up there or what's going on. It's kind of a random assortment. All the stuff over there is all TV stuff, and I don't really have enough space there. I just got my family was way into the show The Good Place, and so I have the entire like main cast of the TV show The Good Place as figures, but I don't have a place to put them. I don't have a place for 6 more figures, so I have to figure out where those are going to go. The family storybook recording app. I'm going all in. Forget Hello World. This is my 8-week goal to see if I can get out to users and maybe even get some revenue and press. Heck yeah, Locked In. That's ambitious. I like it, man. Gold Zulu's building Compliment Monkey, which is just a fact skill to get me through the process of publishing. I think that's awesome. And Locked In, don't get discouraged. You're going to run into a lot of walls along the way. Don't let that discourage you. Trying to do something bigger and better is awesome. I'm not going to stop you from doing that at all. But what Gold Zulu's doing, where you're just building something simple and getting through the process of certification and everything else, if you keep it simple, it might be easier because there are a lot of nuance to the certification guidelines, which you should know forwards and backwards. But make sure you know that stuff going in so that you're not caught off guard when you go to publish your skill. Okay, so we're going to go test this thing. And we say open Chewbacca cup, and that should just work. Because I didn't break anything. Because I don't break code.
Welcome
and it's
to
working.
Alexa
That's
Dev
awesome.
Tips.
Now say, tell
next?
me about Baby Yoda. I don't even know how this is going to handle this.
I don't have a record for Baby Yoda. My apologies. I'll do some research.
Oh, look at that. That worked
Instead,
exactly how I would have
I picked
wanted it
a random
to.
topic for you.
I don't have a record for
State
Baby Yoda.
management.
My apologies. I'll do some
Undefined, what
research.
would you like to do
Instead,
next?
I picked a random topic for you, state management. And of course, I don't have any data for state management, which is why it said undefined. But then, what would you like to do next? That worked on our first try. That's worth celebration right there. Normally, we have 8 or 10 bugs that we've got to fix. Now, the moment of truth is to come look at this table and see if the data is actually there. Do you guys think the data is there? Oh, look at that. 248 on the 48. So we got our Baby Yoda to show up there. So it's saved in the database. Look at this. Building modular code that is small and testable and works. There might be something to this, everybody. I think we might be onto something. So air horns are going off. Man, you guys are awesome. So this is exciting. So we have everything that we need now to record that stuff. So I don't remember whose recommendation that was earlier. I think it was Gold Zulu. But somebody was asking me if I'm recording any misses. We are now. So that's pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to delete these records because I don't really care about these. No, not that way. Delete selected records. Now we have a nice, clean, empty table, and every time that there's a miss, a record will show up there. And then all I need to do, and I think there's even some ways in Airtable where I can set myself notifications so that if a record gets added to this table, I get a text or an email or some notification that lets me know, like, hey, there's new records you should probably check out. That's a paid service. I think you have to be higher up in their paid levels here at Airtable to get those notifications. But once the skill's live, that's probably something that I can justify. Yeah, I totally agree. Idea, concept, implementation. We did the whole thing right there, and it worked on our first try. I'm loving it. Okay. So, well, I'm getting speedier and speedier, but our deploys are taking longer and longer. It takes forever to build some code sometimes. So, now let's get back to the thing that we were thinking about, which is this personal info intent. So the first thing we need to do is build a structure over here. This is going to be our personal info thing. We'll just take, they're all pretty much the same because we've extracted everything else. So we'll take this and drop it here, and we're going to call this personal info intent handler. This is going to be personal info intent, and then this will be personal info. Nope, info. Okay, so that structure is built. We need to take this handler and register it with the manifest down here at the bottom. So we'll drop it right after APL or whatever. It doesn't really matter. The order of these really only matter when you're making sure that one thing happens before another. So for example, I would never want the intent reflector to be anywhere but at the end, because I would never want that to happen if any other intent qualifies. But it does move its way through this list, so you want your most common thing to really be at the bottom, and your most specific things to be at the top, so that it can skip past the specific things and eventually fall into a more general bucket. So there's a little bit of science to this, but in general, as long as your handlers are unique, it really doesn't matter that much. It's when you have specific to general intents that you run into that. Goldzula, I don't know if you know that, but the R-Blank28, everybody, that's my mom. She just shows up once in a while to see what I'm doing and check in. I think she misses her favorite child during this quarantine and really wants to be able to spend some time with me, and this is one way she can do that. So that is my actual mother, everybody. So be nice. Okay, personal info intent. We have our structure. The next thing I need to do is go into handler and create a new reference to that. So this is called personal info. So we'll drop it like here, and we're going to do this personal info intent require, and then we're going to say personal info intent, like that. That looks gorgeous, and then we'll need to put this here, personal, perfect, and then we need to create a file. And so we'll use, do we want to use our answer intent? Let's use the launch request. It's nice and simple. And we'll do file, save as, oh, you did get a new badge. What is that? What did you get a badge for? I don't know what that is. Let's do personal info intent. Save. Okay, and then this needs to become personal info intent, which we can just copy and put there. This needs to be personal info intent, and I just realized that I haven't been doing that. That's very irresponsible of me. Because how else will I do this? Let's go back to our answer intent for a second. Do I do that at the beginning of this? I don't. I can't believe that I didn't do that. Okay, so we're going to take this. Copy. Answer intent is here. We're going to do those two things first. So console log what file we're in, and then this needs to be answer intent, and this needs to be answer intent. Now, if you guys remember, the console log lets me know what's going on, where we are, how that all works. And then the set action, this is how I know what the user did in all of my tests and all the stuff like that. So this clearly indicates that I haven't written tests for the answer intent yet, but that is what those the two lines are for. So in our personal info intent, we've got those as well. And now if I come back to the very beginning index, I should be able to see that handlers personal info intent takes a handler input. Perfect. Awesome. We've got everything we need. So personal info intent, this is where we're going to want to grab the user's information depending on what they asked us for. So let's get rid of this. We don't really need that. And we're gonna say we'll need that. Gold Zulu's trying to push the followers today. Did the bot die? Did we kill the bot today? Yeah, something died. Had an error when you guys tried to do something here. I'll fire it back up. Okay, it's back up and running, Gold Zulu. I love that I get to do that on stream every day. $366. Yeah, it feels like if we have 65 people here, I guarantee most of them are not currently following, and they don't know the fun that is in store when we get to 500. So this is going to be what do we call these things? Action query equals await helper get random speech. Nope. Oh, Kovo0122. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the show. This is where we write code and we break things. You're in the right place. Yeah, we would love to have the chat. This is an awesome group of people that's here, and if you want to join us in the chat, make sure you're on. I don't know where you're joining us from, but jump over to this actual channel rather than maybe the one that's hosting, and throw that follow, talk in the chat. There's a lot of cool stuff going on here, and if you have any questions, we would love to answer those questions for you. So helper, I don't want helper. I want Airtable. Airtable.get. Yeah. Get random speech. Here we're going to pass in the table that I want, and that's going to be action query. And then the other thing that I want is locale, because I need to know what speech from what language from what part of the world. Kova0122, thanks for being here. Man, I really appreciate everybody showing up. This is super, super cool. Okay, so we have our action query that's going to get pulled in here. We don't currently have our speak output, and we'll have that here in a second. So speak output is just going to equal nothing for now, just so it's not breaking anything. Now, we need to get into what did the user say? For those of you that are new or maybe haven't been here before, we're building an Alexa skill for Alexa developers. You can see that here on the bottom of the screen. But the idea for this is that as people build Alexa skills, think of it like apps for Alexa if you haven't done those before. The point of this skill is to allow developers to come in and ask questions about, like, how do I do something, or where can I find more information, or how does this thing work? Yesterday we built some functionality so that if you use devices with screens, like some of the ones that are behind me here, that you can say, hey, show me this specific template for layout, and it'll automatically do that stuff for you. Today we're working on using some of the user permissions to be able to see how it works when people want, as a developer, I can request a user's email address or phone number or whatever, and as long as the user has granted permissions to that data, then it's very easy for me to go grab it and respond to the user. So this is for developers to be able to say, well, what is my email address? How does that stuff work? And I can have the detection to be able to say, do I have access to your permissions? And if I do, here's the information. So we'll have to build all of those kinds of conditions in here. But the first thing that we need to do is capture what the user said. So one of the ways that I do that is through two functions that I've written. Spoken words equals helper.get spoken words, handler input. And this is, again, we get a JSON document that comes into our skill, into our code, and all I'm doing is writing some helper functions to go parse out the pieces that I want without having to navigate that all the time. Hugh J. Ness, thank you for being here, man. Thank you for the follow. It is wonderful to have people kind of joining in. If you're in the chat, I know we've got a few new people here for sure today. If you can just jump in the chat and tell me like how you found us or where you came in to find us, I would really appreciate it. And thanks for the hydrate, Hugh J. Ness. Panzerboy 007. My goodness, it's a party here today. I feel like we should celebrate a little bit, but we'll continue on. Oh, the happy wall. If you earn 4,000 channel points here, which is just those points that accumulate down at the bottom of the screen just for watching, we do have. Can I get to it here? Yeah, this is it. We have our happy little wall, which is here on my Twitch page. And if you click on this and actually look at the image large size, this is a pretty high-res image, and also apparently slow speed of my bandwidth. I have this pop wall behind me, right, with all these figures on it. And what I'm allowing people to do is to spend their 4,000 points, and what I will do is put your face on one of those things. So you can see this wall. These are all people that are regulars that have spent their 4,000 points. So you can see W. Giorgio and P. Karthik, Gold Zulus right here. There's me dressed as Bob Ross on the Bob Ross figure. So Jeff Nunn is here. We've got Trade Last. There's people all over the place. WK Wyatt is right here. So yeah, lots of opportunities. Startup Sanatana is here. So yeah, if you want to get your face on the wall, you just got to spend 4,000 points. It doesn't cost you anything other than your time to hang out and join us here on the channel once in a while. But I'm now streaming what it seems like every day. So it's great to have you guys here, and hopefully this will continue to grow, and we'll have more people joining and participating. So let us know, like Kova0122, tell us how you found this place. How did you get here? And the same goes for Hugh J. Tell me, man, like, how'd you find my channel? I'd love to know. Okay, so we have spoken words. We also need to know if they match something. What was that? So Coded Live is hosting your channel. That's how I found you. Oh, super cool. Coded Live's a great channel. They have a lot of cool stuff going on there. Ed Charbonneau is one of the regulars on there, and he's a good friend of mine. That's spoken words, and then I want resolved words. I do this all the time. Helper.get resolved words. We'll pass handler input for that as well. And I really do need to tweak that. But because I'm not using dynamic entities, it's fine. But if I'm using dynamic entities, I probably need to fix my resolved words function. Okay. So I have both of those. So now I can say if... well, I think you're doing the right thing, Kova. I have found myself watching a lot more Twitch as well in my free time, and just watching other people write things and think about structure and how they put their code together. It always makes things click for me. I'll just see, like, I wonder how they did that, or like even if it's just their CLI or their bash shell or whatever it might be, there's always something to be like, how did they do that? I want to do that. There's so much to know, and there's no way we can all know all of it, so I'm glad to hear that you're doing that. Being a developer is a constant state of learning. You're always needing to know and learn more, and you can only know so much. So I'm glad you're here, and hopefully you pick something up from me, but just getting exposure to it is the first step. You're totally right. Okay, so I need to say if resolved words, and I really need to come up with a better way to do this, because I don't, I tried this yesterday. No, that's not going to work. If resolved words dot length is one, then no, we're not going to do it that way. Because there's not enough difference in the things that we're asking for. No, I'm not even going to Lodash it. I'm just going to say if resolved words exist, and I'm just going to take the first one. We're going to do something a little risky here. So if they resolved something, then we're going to do then we are going to retrieve the value that was the first resolved value. Because I don't really have a lot of things that are the same. If we look at my model in my slot, right, if we go back down to info type, which was down here, I have email address, given name, full name, mobile number. That's it, right? And so this is really probably going to be first name most of the time. I'm using given name because that's what the API called it. But we have first name, but I don't love that this is first and last name. Maybe I'll just lose the synonyms on this and we'll just say, what is my full name? And then when we're missing, because we'll add a missing table for this, then we can say like, oh, why were they asking for that? Or a lot of times what happens with identifying those things is those misses that we did with answer, is that it's not that you're missing. It's not that you don't have the data. It's that your synonym list isn't good enough. And people are saying things in a way that you hadn't considered, or they're using a word that you hadn't anticipated. And so oftentimes it's just a matter of updating your synonyms list and you're off and running. So yeah, so that's why I'm just going to do it that way. So personal info intent, this one is going to be retrieve the value that was the first resolve value. That's great. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so else, and this is where I'm going to try and get all the data. Get everything we have access to. I think that's how it's going to go. And then we'll obviously have a condition in here that is, what if we don't have access to anything? We should ask user to update permissions. Send card. Okay. So let's talk about how this is going to work. So the next thing that I really need to do is I need to get a code file. So let's see if I open, it's not there, open. We'll go get the scavenger hunt code because this is where I wrote some of this, and I don't think that I deleted it. I don't think that I did. We'll see. So if we come in here to scavenger hunt, and we dig in a little bit, I think email. Get email address. What was there? No definition found for that. Well, that's not great. Oh, here it is. No, that's it's more than a bit annoying, Gold Zulu. I just can't convince the powers that be to change their minds. Get random item, HTTP get, request log. I must have deleted it. That's unfortunate. Okay, well the good news is I don't see any other chunks that I could use. This would have been a rather large commented piece. I think I deleted it all because I decided I wasn't going to go that route for this skill. So this is Airtable stuff. Nope, nope, nope. This is what I'm trying to get away from too, is one monolithic file. We've done much better in this new one. Yeah, I totally got rid of it. Okay, that's fine. So we'll close that and we'll go to GitHub because that's where this stuff lives. So if I go to GitHub / Alexa, well, just go to Alexa, and then there's something in here. There's a repository in here called Cookbook, and if I can remember where this is, we'll get it eventually. Feature demos, I believe. Personalization. I don't think, is that what I want? Is there any other permissions-based stuff? List API, APL, personalization. Is this? No, that's voice identification basically. That's something else we'll do. Entity resolution, dynamic location, device settings, customer profile. This is the one I want. Thank you. So let's take a look at this sample for Node. And if you guys didn't know the cookbook is here, like we have all sorts of just like sample little snippets and projects to do some of this stuff. So this is where I need this permissions right here in my code. So we'll just take this. It's going to be a much longer list for us, because then I'm going to do some stuff like this, where basically, if I don't get a consent token, which means they haven't already given me permission, then I can ask for permissions consent card, and it'll launch that card for the user. So this is the piece that I really need here. So let's start with the permissions, and we'll do that right here. I don't love this, and that will come back to burn me 100%. No doubt about it, because I will then copy some code from over here and it won't work. So let's look at how this really works. So is there anything else I need at the top? Just ask SDK core, that's good. And then at this point, all I'm doing is saying consent token is the API access token. So do I have access to the API? And then, why would I do that? Why do I need that information? The API access token is always there, I think. I ran into this same issue when I did this for the scavenger hunt. And, man, how? I'm trying to remember why I even checked this. Because then in the try block, service client factory, get UPS service client, that's the user permissions service, I believe. It does feel like I've got something to do here. I mean, maybe if I look at this, if I come in here, this API access token that's right here, I feel like this is always there. I don't feel like there's ever a time where I don't have an API access token for a user. So if it's always there, let's look this up. Alexa, API access token. Nope. Obtain customer settings information. Excuse me. So each request sent to your skill includes an API access token that encapsulates the permissions granted to your skill. You need to retrieve this token and the device ID and include them in the requests. So what they've told me is the API access token always exists. The thing that I was trying to confirm is if we look at this example, we're just retrieving the API access token, and then if it doesn't exist, that doesn't seem like the right logical check there. If it doesn't exist, then they're asking for permissions, but there will always be an API access token. That's what the docs just said. Each request sent to your skill includes an API access token, and it encapsulates the permission. So I can't read it to know what the permissions are. I just don't know why this sample is checking to see that it exists. That doesn't seem like a thing I need to do. So if I want their email address, I'm going to say, try this. I'm going to do this. And if email fails, but if you look at this gold tool, like consent token, they're just setting it equal to the API access token. And then they're checking to see if it doesn't exist, then do this. That doesn't seem like the right logic to me. Especially because this will always exist. So it seems like I should do this, and if this fails, then I should prompt the user at that point. I don't know. Am I crazy in this? I feel like, yeah, I feel like this sample itself doesn't seem to make sense to me, but I think it'll be okay. So I think we could just we'll just try email first. Let's go over to our code, and we're gonna do a switch on resolved words 0 dot value dot ID, because that is a consistent true value that I can use over and over. And then my first case is going to be, I want to make sure I get it right. I think I did email address. Yeah, email underscore address. So this will be email underscore address without a capital A. Okay. So if that's what I've got, then in here I want to do something like this. Now they broke these functions out, so I'm going to need a little bit more context. If we go to this, so they made Service Client Factory its own thing. They deconstructed handler input. So I just need handler input dot service client factory. That's fine. Handler input dot service client factory dot get UPS service client, and then I have const email is going to equal client dot get profile email. Okay. Now, I wonder what I get back if I don't have permission. Have any thoughts on what that value might be? It didn't really tell me in the docs here. Well, this isn't the docs. So when your code requests the device ID in the request path, that's great. We get some potential server errors, which I'm not as worried about right now. This isn't giving me what I want. Get the API access token, I did that. What I want to know is what gets returned if I don't have permission. Profile name, given name, email, and mobile number. What do we have in our permissions? Name, email, mobile number. So you can't ask for given name and name. You can just get this, and then I think you get everything you need out of that. So it looks like those are the permissions that we need for this right now. What I don't want to do is build and deploy just to see what this value is. Can't you just tell me? Response example. Okay, so here is a header, and we got back those values. I wonder if I get an unauthorized. Well, I think we're just going to give this a run, and we'll just see what we get. So let's just drop a console.log, and we'll say email equals email that will tell me what the email address is. And that's assuming that I say email address and that this all comes in properly. So I think all of that will work okay. API access token is a JWT token. I don't know what that means, Goldtulu. Oh, I see. Yeah, no, it has the things embedded. It's just not readable, but it is parsable. And I think that that's just what we pass in. That's the other thing I haven't seen is like, as we look at this code sample that we were looking at earlier, I am checking to see that their consent token exists, but I never use it. Right? Like, I never use it. So I need to know what email returns if I don't have permissions. Yeah, we're gonna have to just, I guess this is why I'm building this skill. Yes, I agree. The consent token is in the API access token. It's just that we don't know, like, it's encrypted. So we can't read it and just be like, oh, they gave us permission for this. We don't have that kind of data. I agree that it's in there, but we don't know how to read it. So I'm going to deploy this, and we can play with it a little. So the first time, I think I'll probably have permissions, or it'll fail on me. But this should give me a clear indication of what I get back when I call the get profile email, and then this is probably a model that I can build off of for the other 3 examples. So I won't have to do this. You can expect it. jwt.io. All right, let's take a look. So if I go to jwt.io and I take my API access token that we have right here, oh no, that's not what I asked for. I asked for the whole thing, please. Well, it's nice and short. That's nice. My goodness. Okay. This doesn't really tell me, though. I have the user ID and the device ID. See, consent token is null. But that's not what they're getting. Right? If we look at this, consent token equals API access token. I feel like I just want to run this sample now, because I don't know how that works. I mean, if this had brackets around it, like we're deconstructing this, right? Like this one. This is, I say it equals handler input, but I'm breaking it out into its 3 nodes, which are response builder, service client factory, and request envelope. That would make sense to me, but I don't see that syntax here. This is just setting it equal to the API access token. How's our deploy going? Slow. Slow is the answer. I think the expectation is that I just call the API and it tells me whether or not I have permission. It would be nice to do it locally without having to call the skill, but let's just play and we'll find out. So if I say, let's make sure we're getting this accurate with our utterances. Personal info intent. What is my email? And the slot itself can just take the word email. Okay, so I'm going to say, what is my email? It's probably going to freak out, break, and
What would you like to do next?
what would you like to do next? Well, that's wonderful. Let's go to CloudWatch and see what we wrote down. Do we have this one in the list yet? No. Okay. So I see what you're saying, Gold Zulu. I see how we can take that object apart and decrypt it and figure out what the pieces are inside of it, but I don't know how I do that for my code. And do I want to call out to something like JWT, or maybe there's a library that I can do that? But it feels like we should be making this easier for developers, so that there's an easy way for them to be able to do this. So if we go to our logs and grab this one, 11:25 is now. I don't even see it logged. That could be because, no, we matched. Info type, email address. We didn't hit our if statement. That's the thing I should get rid of. Is that if we look at this, somehow I didn't get in here. I just want to try this thing. What if we just take this and hard code it for right now? Like so. That should still be okay, and I'm just saying email. Okay, so we'll try that one more time because it's so slow. I don't want to do a bunch of deploys, but I think, see, in a perfect world, I don't mind making the call as long as they tell me like, oh, you don't have permission, and then I can take action on that. I can say, oh, okay, well then I want to prompt them with this card and let them know that, by the way, hey, like, I don't have permission to access that, because this is all stuff that developers are going to want to be able to test. Thank you, W. Giorgio. It's good to see him focused on my hydration. What's the saying? Hydrate or dihydrate? So this time it'll definitely hit it. I don't know what we'll get error-wise, but we'll see what we get here. This is moving a little bit faster, but I feel like the deploy just takes forever, and it's because like that zip file that gets created is gigantic. Is it in here right now? If I go to this, build.zip, reveal in Finder, how big is that file? This is the issue. It's 40 megs. Yeah, no wonder it takes so long to go up. There's absolutely no reason for me to have a 40 meg deployment. I haven't written any code. It's all those dependencies. Yeah, I agree with you, W. Giorgio. I may have to go through and audit that a little bit, clean some things up. Because I thought that I had installed them globally, but it doesn't seem that way based on the amount of time that I'm standing here waiting for a deployment to happen. Especially because they don't even need, they don't need to be deployed, right? They're just here while I'm writing code. They don't need to be on the server at all. Let's go. For those of you that are still here, I'm going to be back on again tomorrow, I think, from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern. I have a meeting at 2, unfortunately, or I would do 2 to 4 like we did yesterday. But I think tomorrow specifically will be 3 to 5. I've updated the schedule here on the website. It's Monday, Wednesday, Friday normally. Tuesdays are going to be 2 to 4. And then maybe I'll just do surprise Thursday sessions whenever I can fit them in. But I don't think I'm going to commit to Thursday stuff because you never know with schedules and work and whatever. Goodness, that take a long time. Okay, so let's try this one more time. What is my email?
Jeff,
you broke
something.
Well, that's no surprise.
What would you like to do
were counting
next?
on that. Where did my CloudWatch go? Six minutes later. Okay, service error. The authentication token does not have access to this resource. This is the error that Gold Zulu and I were talking about. What I don't know is how I'm supposed to know. The authentication token does not have access to this resource. Okay, here's the thing I'm getting hung up on. If we do this, how do I know? How do I know that they have the email permission and not the first name permission? I don't think I do. I think I have to do a try catch like they're doing here and catch the errors. Yeah, let's do that. So I still don't think that I need this piece. I still think that I just need to do a try catch, but in my error, this is where I'm going to take this. So let's wrap this in a try. And then we'll have a catch. This is going to go here. Messages.notify missing permissions. What in the world is that? What is messages? Please enable. I'm just going to take this. Okay. That's overcomplicated for a sample. Okay, so this becomes this. Please enable customer profile permissions in the Amazon Alexa app. I've written a card to your app to make this easier. I still want to reprompt them here. I wouldn't want to just quit. Kevin Evans, thanks, man. Good luck with the family stuff. We're going to reprompt. You need to update. No, I'll just make it simple. Please check the card in your Alexa app. And then we want to do, did I ever create a action query? I did way down here. Goodness. Okay. Do we let it still funnel through all that? Maybe instead of doing this whole thing, I could just say, no, because then it'll get overwritten. So burnt is just extra cooked. You're totally right. In the meantime, What would you like to do? Next. Okay. So we're getting ourselves to a place. Seems permissions are stated in handler input here. Context system user. Let's take a look at that. Request on context system user. So you're thinking that it goes here if I've granted those permissions? So if I go to alexa.amazon.com, and we do all the fancy log. No, don't show my password. Keep me signed in. Is it possible that I just haven't granted these permissions and that I need to do that? Skills. Your skills. Can I see the dev ones, please? No. This is not the one I want. What is it? Alexa dev tips like that? Settings. I've granted none of the following permissions. Manage permissions. Let's turn them all on. Well, let's just do the email one. Save permissions. Okay, now I have email. So now if I say, what is my email?
What would you like to do next?
What would you like to do next? Well, that's great. It doesn't break anymore. I haven't deployed this new code, right? So we still need to put that in there. But I should be able to come in here now. Maybe, if we get the updated version. And email right here. You can't see it because my screen won't scroll. But email's there, I promise. Let's see if I blow this up, if it will wrap it for you. Yeah, so you can see that it brought my email address in right here. So we're able to get that thing. I just hadn't granted the permissions myself. So I guess working as expected. So now if we come back to our code, we have a try catch, and the try is going to be this stuff. Like so. And then if it fails, then we're going to tell the user to please update their customer profile permissions. So let's deploy this. And if we look at that request envelope for this one, I have a consent token now. But again, it's still a giant string of characters, but we do have that consent token. So it's still weird to me though when we look at this, because that's not what this is asking for. That's not what this function, wherever it went, this piece, that's not what this is asking for. And the consent token still doesn't tell me what I have consent for. It just says that I have some consent. I don't think it would auto-deconstruct without these brackets around it. I just can't. This is how you would create a normal variable. I can't imagine that it does. That just seems like way too much magic. There's no function call here. We're just accessing a property. I'm not saying you're wrong, Gold Zulu. You've been right about many things, but something about this doesn't sit right with me. You know how I feel about magic. Didn't I tell you to deploy? Are you really already done? That would be mind-blowing. What is my email?
What would you like to do next?
Let's turn the permission off and see what we get that time. What is my email?
Jeff, you broke
No,
something.
I don't think we'd actually
What would you
deployed
like to
that,
do
'cause
next?
that should have taken longer. So now we're just waiting for the new code to get up there with our try-catch block, where we should either say, what do you want to do next? Or we should say, please enable the customer profile permissions, which I hate that speech. I'll have to tweak that to be more my style, but this is going to fail right here. This piece, I told you I was going to get burned by this. Remember how I lowercased it? Let's see if I can save in time. Probably not. It's going through a build process right now. It's got all that stuff thrown in there. I'm sure I already missed the window of getting that in there. So annoying. 11:41. This day is cruising. Well, I think we're on to something, and this is the way that I'd like to do it. So, Goldzul, I know we've talked about having access to these tokens, but they don't have enough data in them for me to tell me, like, there's no helper functions or anything that says, like, oh, you have access to their email address if you want to get it. So it feels to me like I should just make the call and try catch it. And if I catch it, then I didn't have permission. Otherwise I did. Does that make sense? I don't know that that's the right approach. I would much rather do this locally. I'd much rather make this decision without actually making a call to the web or to an API. But it feels like that's the right way. Because their permissions can change from interaction to interaction, potentially, if they change it in the app while they're talking to your skill. So, I don't know. I don't know the answer here. We can wait 17 more hours for my deployment. I think we'll get this working, and then we'll probably call it a morning. I've got a bunch of presentation stuff I have to write. Okay, that wasn't terrible. Okay, what is my email?
Jeff, you broke something.
Of course,
What would you like to do next?
So, the error that I'm getting, when we're not streaming, we have all sorts of other work we got to do. I'm prepping for 5 different virtual conferences this summer. We write blog posts. We do a lot of internal stuff. We have a meeting tomorrow to talk about, like, what did we learn while streaming this month? What's new? What tools maybe are we using? Is there any best practices? Like, I'm going to talk to them a lot about how I've built a lot of this speech stuff and using channel points, and how we were using the live share. I did that the other day where we were sharing code. So the error I'm getting is this right here, handler input. So we got in here, we just screwed up our reference. Okay. One last time. Promise this is the last time I'm going to deploy on this stream today. It's either going to work or not work, but the good news is we tried the call. I don't currently have permissions, and it failed. it went into the catch, and it tried to return the thing that I'm doing, and I would expect that to work. I don't think that there's anything very complex about that stuff. So it seems to me like with permissions off, it should prompt me, and I should actually get a card in the app. I'll open up the app so we can see what that looks like. So I'll open up my Alexa app while we wait for this lovely deployment. Go to activity. And then as soon as our code is live, we can hopefully see this work. And then this will be the model that we use for all of these permissions. So inside each switch statement, we will have a little try-catch block. Gold Zulu likes the Google Actions permissions model better. Good feedback. Good feedback. All right, what is my email? This should say, hey, I wrote a card.
Please enable customer profile permissions in the Amazon Alexa app. I've written a card to your app to make this easier.
Sweet.
What would you like to
So
do
here's
next?
what you can see if I cover my face. Hopefully you can, here, let's do this. Boom. So you can see that it said, hey, Alexa Dev Tips wants, I gotta get my face off. The Alexa Dev Tips wants access to those 3 permissions, and then I can update my permissions right there. So that works really nicely. The thing that we need to do next is flip back here, and we'll go change our permissions and grant access to that email address. Email, save. Now I have permission. Now I hit what is my email.
What would you like
What
to
would you
do
like to
next?
do next? And I would bet that I have that email because we knew that worked before. So set up in the ADC Alexa Developer Console. You can also set it up in the Developer Console. I don't think so. If I come here, is this what you're talking about? Like coming down here to permissions down here at the bottom. This Gold Zulu. Yeah. So this is how I define what permissions I want access to. This isn't about me as the user. This is about me as the developer. So this is where I set this stuff up. But in fact, I don't do it here because I'm working from the CLI. I would overwrite all this. Where I do it is in the skill.json file. Down here you can see I have all of my permissions listed here. I have to list them here because every time I deploy, otherwise I would overwrite with whatever happens to be in this document. So I have them all listed out here, and I have proactive enablement and all the other stuff. So this is just to make it easier for me to work from the CLI, because when I deploy, it takes this file and pushes it up there, and if I don't have those things in this file, then it'll erase all the ones that I've done on the portal. So that's why I do it here. Yeah. But this place here, this is where you basically tell your skill, these are the permissions that I want access to, and when your user enables your skill, if they do it via the app or the website or something, it will prompt them and say, hey, your skill's asking for these permissions. The wall you run into is that when people enable your skill with their voice, you don't get access to that permission model, and you have to direct them to the app to go do it, and that's kind of what we were doing there. So, long story short, we have it working. We have a model that works for us if we come into the personal info intent. And what we'll need to do that now is figure out why I wasn't getting in here. I wasn't actually even hitting my switch statement. And then once inside each case, we're going to have a try-catch to be able to make those calls and get the individual data. What we will do here for this one, the else case, this is where I want to get access to everything I know. I will go one by one and grab the data, and if it fails, then I'll just do nothing. And I'll assemble those all together. So let's say I have access to their email address and their phone number, but not their name or their mobile address. What I will probably say is, I'll create a paragraph of speech that is, I accessed your data, your full name is this, your phone number is this, your address I was not able to get access to, and your email address I was not able to get access to, right? So it would it would indicate to you like, hey, here's a current status of all of the permissions data that I have access for you, so that as a developer I can quickly go in and see like, oh, I see, so I flip that switch and that's how this stuff works. So hopefully that was clear. We have a working prototype, but there's much more work to be done in this file. And then we will also need to expand the list of permissions that we're requesting. Yeah, you're right. You cannot give permission without using the... I think you can do it on the website. Like if you go to the skill in the skill store, I think you can do it there too. But you cannot do it with your voice, unfortunately. Okay, well, I think that's going to be it for today. We had a ton of viewers for a little while. I'm really liking that live code is joining us from time to time. That's super cool. But I'm gonna put a bow on today, and we'll either tweak this up tomorrow afternoon, or I'll get it cleaned up so that everything's working. But in fact, let me do this while we're here on the stream, just as a reminder to all of you that if I come into GitHub, started adding permissions and personal info intent. And we'll just throw that up on the old GitHub so that if you guys want to see this or play with it, it's there. All right, it's on its way. Thank you guys all for tuning in. We will see you again maybe tomorrow, probably tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, and definitely on Friday. So thanks again for joining me.